Coming to you live. Steve Urkel. He's a militant black man. Steve Urkel is an angry black man. Oh my goodness. Did I do it? I'm telling you. And I'll explain it in just a moment. So, I saw the interview with Steve Urkel and Talib Kweli. And fascinating interview. Um, it's great that we have podcasts nowadays so that more of the story is told from the people who lived it. You know, we don't have to wait for historians to hash out and tell a story. We hear it from the mouth of the babes. But anyway, so Lindell White, I think his name is Lindell White. I'm so sorry for butchering it. It might be Lionel. It might be Lindell. But Mr. White, he was on the show, and let me not butcher his name. Okay. Hey, Google, who played Steve Urkel?
Steve Urkel was played by Jaleel White.
Jaleel White. Why do I fuck? Jaleel White. Okay, let's just get that all the way straight. I don't know what I was thinking. Lionel, Jaleel, whatever. But Jaleel White was on the show and speaking about family matters. Not his family, but the running sitcom Family Matters. He was a middle schooler when he did that show. Only was supposed to air for only was supposed to have a small segment in it, but through his you know what he would say as a he was just emulating somebody he's seen and watched on TV, and he was just recreating their shtick. He was able to form his own lane. Um, but what was said was, definitely important, but what was not said was definitely of the most importance. How he talked about um, the actors or the writers not being able to write for a black cast. Okay, okay. So when you look at it, look at Family Matters, definitely it could have been a white cast, could have been a white show, but it wasn't. It was black. Um, so he talked about that, and then he talked about them putting him in a dress, which I've actually gone back and watched the Family Matters. He got in the dress second season. You know what I mean? Soon as he was budding as the star of the show, he had to do the dress thing. But to his credit, he definitely played the part, and you know, it was it was good. It was good. It was good acting. Um, and he subsequently did that a few times throughout Family Matters, seasons. But what really got me was this was in the '90s, and people feel like, oh yeah, no, racism ain't a thing. that ended in the 60s. The blah, 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 blah. They don't realize what the fuck is going on here in the world. But what he was told by um, his people, who was told by their people, that you can't self nominate because black shows don't win. So even though it was a self nominating um, award, you just put your name in the hat, and they evaluate, your ratings and all this and that. He said that they were told to not even nominate themselves because black shows don't win. Now, even though this was a black face of the show, it was still it was a all white writing crew that was writing for him. Not only that, but you know, it was pretty much white subject matter, um, and the only thing was the black faces, right? But that made it a black show, and because of that, it couldn't win. So, regardless of the viewers that tuned in, regardless of the PSAs they did as far as with violence or drugs and things like that. Regardless of those, they weren't able to self-nominate because it was a black show. So the way he said it definitely struck me because I know that that's angry black man. That's angry black man, ain't it? Yeah, it is. Nigga, I know that. So, um, Jaleel continued on talking about how um, they weren't able to really find their voice in the script, because it wasn't written for them. It, it had no resemblance of a lifestyle that they knew, um, but or a life or a community or what have you. It's just basic family. People come and they go. Uh, Scoozies. So, um, as he was talking about it, you can see his expression, his body language change, but you also see how he was, typecast or he was bogged down because think about the show where he was not only the geek but also the stud. Uh, Not only the stud but the diva. So he had a wide range of characters that he played, impressions that he did, and just overall acting ability. I've seen some episodes where he was catering to the audience, playing it up a little bit because some stuff on the paper just wasn't funny. So he had to use his talents um, to kind of find a sliver of you know laugh and play it up to keep the audience right because it was taped in front of a live audience, which is like having a fucking play be recorded every week, and, they did it effortlessly. Um, I wouldn't say effortlessly, but they did it without they kept going. They kept going. 100 plus episodes, that I'm on right now. They kept going. But the way that Hollywood did him after Family Matters, being one of the biggest artists of the decade. I mean, get that in the brain right there. He was one of the biggest actors of the decade. Like if you say Macaulay Culkin, now you might not know Jaleel White because, as you've seen, I was a little fucked up with the name. But if you heard Steve Urkel, then that was. And see, I don't know Macaulay Culkin's um, name in Home Alone. Don't know it because that's how Hollywood does. They'll bombard you with the information that they want you to have, right? So Macaulay Culkin was what was told to us, and uh, Steve Urkel is what was told to us. So they benched him. I mean, he had one of the most recognizable faces for a generation, for generations, maybe spanning a couple generations of viewers, and nothing. I mean, he got roles here and there sparingly, and maybe he did some other things too. I'm not saying that he's not getting work, but Wonder Years. I think about that guy. Then think about the um, the work that he was able to do and the shows that he was able to continue having because he was a known face in Hollywood. So people gravitated to the face. They knew him or they felt like they knew him growing up in the Wonder Years, right? Same case, different, scenario where Jaleel White grew up in front of us, recognizable face, and then why isn't he being like the ball in between all of the hungry hippos? Like I gotta get him, I gotta get him, I gotta get him, because you don't have to necessarily put um, his name out there, but you can put his face out there, and his face will attract attention. It's like, wait a minute, that's that's Steve Urkel, that's Stefan, and then you'll get whatever um, is coming your way. Now, also what they did on the Family Matters show, and I believe he was a little taken back by this, but Steve Urkel, Jaleel White's character on Family Matters, was a genius. He was maybe the smartest guy in the state, and they lived in New York City, right? Nothing they were in Chicago. Still, million people plus. And so he was the outlier. He was the smart guy, but every other black man in the show seemed to be mentally deficient. They weren't up to speed. They were always, I mean, it was a comedy, but there were better ways to show comedic puns and cues and punchlines and stuff like that. But they were all always ditzy and buffoonish um, in a lot of cases. Like you know, uh, the son of in the house, he was very rebellious to his father. You know, then his friends were arguably the dumbest people on the planet. You know, um, one was over stereotyped yo baby yo, which was like the Fonz on steroids, but was black, so it was kind of weird to see it. Um, and then they had Waldo, which another breakout star of the show was just the dumbest brick, and so some of Laura's, I think Laura Winslow, yeah, on the show. I don't know her name, but they they were okay, but they were always flawed in a way that caused the eventual breakup. Um, so it was never a well-rounded black male on the show, and I believe that's what he didn't say, and that's what was important because he did say a lot, and it led me to believe that he is very much militant, very much angry black man in the stages of his life, which we all go through. It's part of growing up. It's part of saying the system as what it is um, against us. And people say, "Don't give me that woe is me mentality." And I say it to them, "You need to do some fucking research because, yeah, oh, it's some that's slipping through. It's some that's slipping through. You don't you when you cup your hands like this, some water sips through, but you can still get a cup down. You know what I mean? So uh, there are some cracks, but it's still not a free flowing, river. It's not even. And the analogy, the hands, they've all been touched in some way. You know what I mean? Not like football players trying to get to a D1 and got to get that D first. But more so society, visual images, things of that nature. So I say all that to say, Steve Urkel, militant black man, he angry and got every right to be. Deuces.